Is this combo, Fujifilm X-Pro3 and 18mm f1.4, a valid cheaper alternative to the Leica Q3, which I reviewed over here a while ago? Yes and no. And the answer depends a lot on what you value the most. In this video, we will find out what differences are worth being mentioned and what differences are going to guide your purchase decision if you're on the fence as to whether go with this combo or the Leica Q3. Because while there are a lot of similarities between these two combinations, there are also a lot of differences, and those may be very, very important, or they can be meaningless to you depending on your style of shooting, what you're going to shoot, and what you value when you're purchasing a camera. Because of course the Leica Q3 is a $6,000 camera, while this combo here is going to cost you less than $3,000. And if you're buying used, you can get as close as 2000 and something, while you cannot buy a Q3 used right now. It's hard to find it new. So before going into all the details, let me thank the friends at RCE Photo. It's the biggest and largest used photography market in Italy, which is also present in some countries in Europe. And they sent me this camera to review, and although this is not a proper review of the camera, and to test out, I wanted to thank them because this video is only possible thanks to them. Now, let's start with the reasons why the X-Pro3 and the 18mm f1.4 are very similar to what the Leica Q3 can offer. Let's start with the mundane thing. The form factor is very similar. It's a rangefinder style type of camera. It's a kind of a solid brick you see over here with a lens that it's big but not too big. The Leica is a little bit smaller, but it's not interchangeable, so kind of it's a give and take in these things. But they both will build very well. They both share the same philosophy behind. They're tactile. They are more cameras than computers. They are enjoyable to use. They are inspiring tools that as soon as you get them in your hands, you want to get out and shoot. And so the philosophy behind them is very, very, very similar. There are differences in the build quality. We're going to discuss about them in a moment. But in general, the philosophy behind everything that is surrounding the camera is there. They're street photography cameras. They're for enthusiasts or professionals that value the experience a lot into the shooting process. They're not for those who look for computers. They get you perfect result all the time without giving an experience that is memorable to you. With these cameras, you will love shooting with both. Honestly, you will love shooting with both. So that is the main thing to consider. Weight and size-wise, they're fairly similar. The Fuji combo is a bit heavier and is a bit bigger, but again, it's an interchangeable lens combination compared to a fixed lens combination on the Leica Q3, and you get great image quality from both. Now you know for sure already that the Q3 is a full-frame camera, while the Fuji X-Pro3 is an APS-C camera. But if you're looking at the images, and you know what? Let me show you a lot of images that I shot with both, and I will write which shot was taken with which camera. But if you try to exercise yourself without looking at the description at the bottom, I'm pretty sure you would be hard-pressed to find any visible difference, at least in a YouTube video or in Instagram or anything like that. There are differences, and we're going to discuss about the megapixel count and all of that, but those differences are not as big as you may think. There's difference in color science, there's difference in the black depth. All that is true, but all in all, at the end, you can get great results with both. Both combos have a great lens. They're both around 28 millimeters, equivalent for the Fuji. The 18 millimeters from Fuji is an f1.4, and so it's a faster lens compared to the 28 millimeters f1.7 from Leica. And the fact that it's a little bit faster kind of compensate the difference that you can get with depth of field, because there's already a half a stop difference with the aperture, and on top of that, the focal length on the Leica is a little bit wider than that of the real focal length. So you're gonna get a slightly narrower field of view when you're shooting with the Fuji combo. Not a huge margin, but still something. So at the end of the day, the difference in depth of field is going to be minimal. If you're looking for that, you can find the difference, but honestly, you don't. Normal shooting scenario, you won't see that. They're both great lenses. They're both sharp. They're both really good when it comes to bokeh. They're both really, really, really good lenses. Sensors are both great. Of course, the Leica has more megapixels. We're going to discuss about that later. But if you're shooting, trying to fill the frame with your shot without cropping too much, you won't see dramatic differences aside from the color science and maybe a little bit of difference at the high ISO. So all in all, you get very similar result, very good result, very pleasing result with both cameras. On top of that, the Fuji has a couple of things that the Leica doesn't have. One, we already discussed, it's an interchangeable lens combo. So if you're for an 80% 28 millimeter shooter, but sometimes you want to shoot with a different focal length, you can with the Fuji. Optically, you cannot with the Leica, and you have to make up for that with the sensor, but we're going to discuss about that later. Another thing that the Fuji has is this electronic hybrid viewfinder. Now, this is the trademark, right? The X-Pro series comes with this. This is what the X100 and the X-Pro series have. It define the type of camera, and this is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's also not as useful as I initially thought. And believe me, this comes from someone who've used the initial X100 and the X-Pro 1 for a long time. But nowadays, I don't think these are as useful as before, especially because with the X-Pro3, they changed the optical part of the optical viewfinder by limited a little bit. So when you're shooting with the 18 millimeters, we're talking about this combo, the bottom right quarter of the image is blocked by the lens, and you don't have the breathing room on the outside. You don't have the frames, because basically with this you're shooting you basically filling the frame in your optical viewfinder, which means the vast majority of the benefits of having the optical viewfinder with this focal length kind of goes away. So it's something that it's there, and I know for someone that is the defining feature that is gonna drive them directly to the X-Pro line. But in a real use case scenario, despite the fact that the Fuji has it, it's not as useful as you may be thinking at the beginning. The Leica Q3 and the Fuji, as I said, they both have very good build quality. But the Leica is better. I don't know, it gives you more pleasing tactile feeling. It's hard to determine, it's hard to explain with words, but once you use it, you definitely see that the feeling that you have in your hands, it's better on the Leica. And there's nothing wrong with the X-Pro. It's just that the Leica feels better in your hands. And I mean, it doesn't justify double the price, of course, but it's something that many may consider a non-negotiable difference. Also, the viewfinder. The Leica has only an electronic viewfinder, and I already discussed about the hybrid viewfinder on the X-Pro3, which in theory should be better. But in my opinion, my experience using it is that once I'm bringing the camera to my eye, with the Fuji, I'm not using the optical viewfinder for the reason that I explained above, so I'm going to the electronic, which is a good one, but the comfort, the eye comfort while using it, it's not as good as that of the Leica. And I'm not talking about resolution, colors, anything like that. I'm talking about eye comfort. Shooting with the Leica, staying like that for 2-3 minutes waiting for the right combination of things to happen was not bothering me at all. With the X-Pro3, I sometimes felt some kind of fatigue to my eye. Again, it's not a dramatic difference, and it may be a personal one. My eye may not be a good match for the way this is designed, but that's my experience, so I'm reporting my experience. One major difference is, as you probably know, the screen. Now, the X-Pro3 has this screen where normally you don't get to use the LCD when the camera is in this position, because you have this little screen over here telling you the whatever you want. In this case, it's the picture profile, but you can choose what to show. But normally your screen stays closed and you have to actually open the screen to use it while you're shooting, or if you want to review photos. And while I understand the reason why the camera was designed like this is for those who don't want to chimp after every shot, or people who want to be focused on the shooting rather than on the reviewing the shots, I understand that. But sometimes we are all got used to the fact that we can shoot with our eye distant from the eyepiece, and the screen on the back becomes important. I personally lost a couple of shots because I needed to shoot with an angle that I couldn't reach the viewfinder, and so I had to open the back screen, and the time that I was spending to open it and then starting to frame made me lose the shot. It wasn't that many shots, but I lost some. In my opinion, while I understand the thinking behind it, I don't think the design of this makes a lot of sense, because if I'm not willing to chimp, I'm not gonna chimp. I'm gonna stay focused on the moment and shoot the way I'm shooting anyways. But at the same time, the fact that with any camera but this one, you can just remove your eye from the viewfinder and immediately have the image on the screen, makes it so much faster to go like this and shoot rather than go like this, flip it open, frame and shoot. It's a difference that, in my opinion, it's an important one, because from a usability standpoint, this makes the Leica, which has a much more conventional screen, it just tilts up and down, and it's fine. It doesn't do anything more than that. It's not super fancy. It doesn't flip toward you. It doesn't do anything like that. But it flips up and down. That's it. That's what you need. You don't need anything any more than that. And it's fast and it's convenient. The screen on the back of the X-Pro3 is not convenient. And last but not least, the sensor. Now, while the sensor on the X-Pro3 is a very good one, it's a 26 megapixel sensor. It's a 4-year-old sensor, but it's a very 5-year-old sensor. Maybe 6 now. Yeah, it's 6-year-old sensor, but still one of the best APS-C sensor around. It's a 26 megapixel sensor. It's got a fast readout. It's got very good image quality, very good dynamic range and all of that. The sensor on the Leica is just better. And it's not that the sensor is much newer, because I guess it was released 4 or 5 years ago as well with the A7R4. It's a 61 megapixel sensor, but that sensor is great. And the color science that Leica puts into it works great. On top of that, Leica makes up for the fixed lens with the resolution. You can crop in while you shoot until I guess 75 or 90 millimeters. I don't remember, but I wouldn't go that far. But up until 50 millimeters, you get enough resolution to justify cropping in camera. And so, yes, the Fujifilm is an interchangeable lens camera, but the Leica makes up for that thanks to the sensor, to the resolution on the sensor. But it's not only about the resolution. It's the fact that you can shoot not necessarily 61 megapixels. You can shoot 36 or 18 megapixel photos raw with the combination of the pixels, which gives you the flexibility of having smaller file for those occasions where you don't need huge ones. Let's just say you're using it on your on a family event. Okay, you want the raw file, even if you probably should you should set a good JPEG for that, but you want the raw file just in case, and you want to edit that because you got the best picture in the world. You will probably not going to magnify that photo a lot. And so you can shoot 80 megapixel and save a lot of room in your memory card, taking advantage of the structure of the sensor. So in general, the Leica is still it's a more flexible camera, although it's a compact camera with a fixed lens. It kind of makes no sense, but it makes sense at the same time. It's hard to explain, but I hope my message passed to you. So bottom line, while the Fuji is a combination that costs a lot less than the Leica, we're talking less than half the price new, a lot less if we're talking used, and despite the fact that it's an interchangeable lens camera with an interchangeable lens, so it gives you that flexibility, despite the fact that it's built very well, despite the fact that it's a very good image quality combo, despite all of that, I would still say that if you're considering, like, if you want to give a percentage of the experience that you can get out of the X-Pro3 compared to the Q3, I would say you get probably 80% of the experience with 45% of the price. And if looking in that perspective, is a bargain, okay? It's a bargain. You get very good experience, very good pictures, very good quality, spending a lot less and being very happy with the results that you get. At the same time, however, there's people that value that additional 20% that you get from the experience of using the Leica much more than the difference in money that you have between the two cameras. And for those that value that 20% difference more than the money, there's no going back to anything else that is not the Leica Q3. So again, the X-Pro3 can be a valid alternative to the Leica Q3 for a much cheaper price, but you need to understand what it is that you value the most, because those are the things that are gonna make you regret your choice if you don't value those the right way. And only you know the answer for you. For me, if I had the money, I would definitely go with the Leica Q3. Despite the fact that I would love not to buy another brand, another anything, and I would love to just buy a body because I already have the 18mm f1.4. If you're following this channel, you know the 18mm f1.4 is a lens that I praise all the time because I love this lens. It's my go-to lens for pretty much everything that I do. And despite all of that, the X-Pro3, for as great as a camera as it is, it doesn't give me what I need. And speaking of the X-Pro line, go watch this video over here in which I discuss what I would love to see in the X-Pro 4, in the upcoming X-Pro 4. It's a bit crazy, some of you will hate it, but I believe going that direction would make a lot more sense. I believe that's it for today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.